Hi, my name is Ian Postgreen, and the Tracks in DC was the only all-ages club in the entire town. A 17-year-old boy trying to figure out who he was needed a job, and Marty gave him one at the food concession. I was a blonde boy, kind of pretty at the time, but who wasn't when they're 17 and blonde? And I think it was just the right place, the right time, where I needed to be. And if not for Marty, if not for Tracks, I wouldn't have had that. I wouldn't have been able to explore who I was. I wouldn't have been able to become the man I had to be. So I owe pretty much a lot of that to Marty. And wherever you are right now, Marty, thank you.
I'm Scott Dodson. I'm married into the family. My wife is Marty's niece. I only knew Marty peripherally, but what I knew about him, I really respected. One thing is that he had a very ecumenical view of family. And let me just give you one example. When Amy and I got married, we invited Marty's mother, Ricky, to the wedding, of course. She was old. She lived in a home and had a roommate. And we didn't know the roommate, but the roommate had no one else except Ricky. And we had our wedding, Ricky came, and it was wonderful. And afterwards, Marty pulled me aside and said, you know, you really should have invited Ricky's roommate. And at the time I thought, why would I spend $50 a head on someone whom I don't know, who doesn't have any relation to me or my wife or the event, and is just Ricky's friend? But you know what? Marty was right. Here's to Marty.
My name is Tom Chrisman. I was Marty's doctor. The story of meeting Marty was he needed a clearance for a surgical procedure, and he couldn't get it in a timely manner. And he stumbled across my name, and his daughters called, and I saw him, and we were together for several years after that. He was not just a patient, he also was a dear friend. Once I complained to Marty that my wife and I, because of our advanced age, were not welcome dancing anywhere in Denver, even though we're straight, we're old, and we didn't fit in. And Marty said, come to my club, everybody fits in. And we did, and we've been coming since, and we love it, and we love Marty. When I turned 60, we had my 60th birthday party here. There was Buddhist priests, martial artists, doctors, lawyers, maybe more straight people than Tracks had at one time, and everybody had a blast. When Marty died, I was with him, and it was near him. I saw him hours before, and he was resolute and made up his mind and knew what he wanted to do, and it almost didn't matter what we wanted to do. He was going to do it his way, as always, and he did. So I'm sorry to lose you, Marty. You were more than a patient. You were more than a friend. He once told me, I don't believe in what you do, but I believe in you. Marty, I believe in you.
My name is Sandra Annie. I started working for Tracks back in 2003. I actually started going to Tracks back when I was 16, back when it was 16 and up at the old Tracks. I started attending that place, and it was one of the best clubs at the time. I started working for Marty again in 2003, and he was just a great, genuine man. Always was kind, always said hello every time he walked by. You never would have thought this guy was wealthy, but he was always genuine and kind. And yeah, it was just a pleasure to work for him for over these, however many years it's been now. But he was just an icon in the community. He provided a safe place for all of us to be as teenagers, and he's responsible for so many amazing memories in this place. So thank you, Marty. We love you.
Hello, this is Justin and Toby Boris. It's so nice to be here. We know Marty going way back many years through Andy. And Marty was famous for owning many restaurants over the years, but they were all kind of unmitigated disasters. So one time I said, Marty, you have so many talents, but I don't know if owning a restaurant is one of them. Why do you keep opening up these restaurants? He's like, Justin, I like to eat. So that was his big response, but we love Marty. We're going to miss Marty, and it's a testament to Marty how many people are coming to say goodbye to him and to pay tribute to his life. So thanks, Marty, for all you did.
I'm Toby Boris, and I am always grateful to Marty for there was this time several years ago I was on the board of a national gay rights Jewish organization, and we had a fundraiser here at Exto that was the story of Tracks, how two Jewish men started Tracks, and Marty was on stage and told his story. It was a huge boon to the organization. It raised a lot of money. It was just so kind of him and so emblematic of who Marty was to do this generous thing, and it was a really interesting story as well. So thank you, Marty.
My name is Ron Hunt. I'm from New York, but I live in the Maryland, Washington, D.C. area where I've had an opportunity to meet Marty. I met Marty because I was asked to work at a club called Chapter 3 that he owned. And when I met him, it was a really funny situation because he didn't say too much. And I got the job. And after playing there for about 2 years, I was explaining to him that I wanted to purchase the club. And, Ron, leave me alone. I'm not gonna do that. I said, okay, Marty. So he hired these new managers, except they weren't very good. Making a long story short, the managers and myself got in a very bad situation. And after everything went down, I ran upstairs and Marty was standing right there. I said, oh my God, I'm fired. But that's when I think our romance actually started. Marty and myself, we did everything together after that point. I ended up buying the club, and Marty and myself did so many things together. It's hard for me to talk about because there are hundreds of things. I'm listening to different people say the experiences they've had with them, and I'm sure they're memorable. But when you're in a nightclub like we were, day and night, and we'd see each other just about every single day, and different things happen every night, you get to not just like somebody, you love them. Plus, we ate breakfast every morning. We did everything. And I just can't even explain how this feels. You know things have to come to an end. But whenever he'd answer the phone when I'd call, he'd go, "What are you up to?" Or he'd say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." I guess that was our calling card. And he was the same kind of guy everybody's talking about. Very special, very nice. Oh yeah, I crossed him a couple times. And the reason I did was because I didn't agree with maybe certain things that a father should kick to a son, but I think I learned my place after a while because he was right. I'm from the street and Marty was from the street too. And I wear 2 pairs of pants like he does, and I only have t-shirts, and I think we got along great. We don't wear coats in the wintertime. It could be freezing below 0. We're running up the street and we don't need a coat. We're not waiting on the bus stop. And he was right about that too. I don't know what I'm gonna do without him. And yes, we all know you have to go sometime, but I don't know what I'm gonna do without him because I came here to visit him about 2 or 3 months before he passed, and I took a little video with him on my phone. I kissed him, and then we went to his house, and you know he makes homes up from warehouses. He showed me around, and we sat there, and I said, "Marty, you know this might be the last time I'm seeing you." He says, "I know," and he looked at me and said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, but you can't say we didn't have a good run." Yeah, we had a good run. He took me when I was a little kid. I'm still a little kid, I guess. But I can't even explain to you how I feel because he's actually gone. And you know it's gonna happen, but you just don't expect it. You don't want to believe it. Because something like that's not supposed to go. See, when I was growing up, my father brutalized me. They had to take him to court. And when they took him to court, the judge said I get half of everything he owns when I was 21 because I don't know how everything ended up. My mother did all of this because, when parents are fighting. But then when I met Marty, he turned into the father. And the funny thing about it is, after that big storm Irma came through, my father was a doctor, by the way. He had a clinic in St. Martin. It destroyed everything. So my father went to live with my brother for 4 months. My brother put him out. He went to live with his brother. His brother put him out. My father's now 82 years old. And the funny thing about it is, guess who he lives with? The one he brutalized. Now, of course, I'm not gonna put my hands on an old man. But Marty said, Ron, give him a break. I know what he did. I said, Marty, why aren't you here with me? Ron, it wasn't meant to be that way. I said, Marty, I'm not gonna do anything wrong to the old man, but isn't it funny how things work out? I was brutalized, bloodied, pictures in front of a court in Queens, New York. And here it is, 2018, 19, and this same man lives with me, and I consider you my father more than I consider him my father. We've been together since 1985, February, March of 1985, until the day you passed, and I talk to you at least 2-3 times a day sometimes, if not 6-7 days out of the week. And in the past 5 years, maybe about 3 times a week. I remember when we first saw Linda back in the 80s. Linda had a mohawk, and I said, who's that? You said, that's Linda, that's Kay's daughter. I said, wow, I like her. You looked at me, you said, watch it. And then you said, whoa, whoa, whoa. And that's when you said, Linda. Because you knew I liked Linda. The whole family's great. Lisa's great. Kay, what a sweetheart. Oh my God, I love that woman. She always told it like it was. Even if she felt good or bad or indifferent about anything, she'd speak up. And I felt like I was in a real family. So from 1985 until present day, because you're not going to me yet. It hasn't hit me yet. You're the best. I'm not gonna get stupid in here. I'm not gonna get sappy. I gotta go, but God bless all of yous. All right? All right.
Well, hello. My name is Barry Wilson, and I'm a longtime customer of Marty's. I first met Marty at Tracks 2000 in Tampa, Florida. I guess that was probably back in the early 90s. I was serving in the Coast Guard, and it was a safe place to go without outing myself. And actually being from the area of Miami and Key West, Florida, where it was pretty gay friendly, I just still felt uncomfortable. So it was always taking trips up to Tampa and actually meeting Marty, who would fly in to manage his local club. So that's really how I came to know Marty. And if you're wanting, probably the best story I can tell you is I was standing out back at Club Tracks here in Denver, Colorado, and Marty came walking out of the back door of the club into the alley carrying a tray of food. And my friend that we used to call BMW David was standing there, and he says, oh, that poor man, he's out here scrapping for food. And I go, oh. I said, that guy over there? And he goes, yeah. And I said, you don't know who he is? And he goes, no. And I said, I feel sorry for him. And I go, really? I said, well, he happens to own Tracks. And I go, what? And he goes, yeah. I said, this guy is Marty. I said, Marty owns the Tracks Club. And I said, he lives in the house right here at the next building over. And he goes, no way. And I go, yeah. And I said, well, here, let's go meet him. And so I went over and introduced my friend David to Marty. And that's probably one of the funniest stories I had with Marty, because he always looked, I hate to say the slob, but, he was always comfortable. I guess that's the best way to put it. He was always, before he lost weight, he was always wearing his T-shirts. He had the belly button midriff going on. And I'm not too far behind, but anyway, it was always good coming in, and Marty was always a friend, always a big heart. He was open-hearted to everybody. He never looked down upon anybody. So, I learned a lot of life lessons just being around Marty and seeing how he interacted with people. He was down to earth, and that's the best thing about Marty. So, he'll be really missed. I hope that his legacy lives on, that they carry on the Tracks family, because Tracks really is just not a club, but it's a family, and that's really what I get out of being around the Tracks family. And hey, I'm probably one of their best customers. I'm here every Thursday and Friday, so Thursday and Saturday. So it's been a lot of fun for the last 38 years now, I guess. Man, time flies when you're having fun. Thanks, Marty.
My name is Mark Hernandez, commercial real estate broker. Worked with Andy and Marty for quite a number of years. My lovely wife, Milena Hernandez, brokered a lot of deals with Marty over the years and came to know him very, very well. I'll share a Marty story with you. We had booked to go visit a warehouse. We were looking at a warehouse up north, up in the Westminster area, and we got up there, and the property was not in the best of shape. It was contaminated, and it had some major issues. And the listing broker was on the tour with us, and we're walking through the warehouse, and Marty is clumping along in his sandals, and the broker turns and he says, "Well, hey, this property has some issues, and there's some contamination and so on and so forth." And I said, "Yeah, I'm aware of it. He goes, "This would be a perfect property for that guy Marty Chernoff." I said, "Marty Chernoff?" And Marty looks at me and I look at him, and we just kind of grinned at each other. And Marty says, "Well, Marty Chernoff, do you know him?" And the broker says, "Well, no, I don't know him personally, but I hear he buys schmutz. I hear he buys shit properties." Both Marty and I look at each other, and he says, "Yeah." And so the broker looks at me and goes, "Well, you know Marty?" And I said, "Well, I've heard of him." And Marty and I look at each other, grinning ear to ear, and finally we just couldn't take it anymore. And I turned to the broker and I said, "Well, I'd like to introduce you to Marty Chernoff." And I tell you, we laughed about that for weeks, and I'll never ever forget. I'll never forget him being able to fly off the cuff with stuff and just be fun to work with and fun to do deals with. And I thank him for that. I thank him for the years that I had with him, and the deals that we did, and the lessons that he taught me. And he taught me more in 12 years of doing real estate that I could ever learn in 50 to 100 years. And for that, I'm forever thankful. Bye, Marty.
I'm Tom Cooper. I know Marty because I worked with him for over 10 years at Exto Management, the real estate company that he started with Neil Feinstein and then later Andy Feinstein. It's through work that I knew Marty. He became a father figure to me. He was just always great giving advice. He was just so smart. He was a mathematician like I was, so we bonded over that. Our offices were right next to each other for a lot of years, and I just loved going in and talking with him and hearing all of the different stories that he had from his time in New York, from when he was at DU as a mathematician, when he lived in California. He was always so supportive of me. When I got engaged to my fiance who lived in California and ended up having to leave and moved to California to leave Exto, he was just so supportive. As an engagement present, he actually sprung for a beautiful suite in Las Vegas for me and Mike to go to. I just owe so much to Marty. He was just always such a wonderful, great person. Funny as all hell. And we're just gonna miss him so much. And Marty, I just really hope that you knew how important you were to me, what a difference that you made in my life. It's because of you that I was able to afford the money to buy a house. You helped to bring me out of my shell. I can definitely be kind of a shy person, and you really didn't allow for that. And I just appreciate everything you've done for me. And I'm gonna miss you, and I'm so glad that I got to know you. And my life is so much better because I knew you.
I'm Marcus DiFiore, and I'm visiting from San Diego. I met Marty years ago when he was looking to refinance a property that he had in Beltsville, Maryland. And so I met Marty and Neil and Andy. And, from that transaction, we ended up developing, a very strong relationship. I used to come out here and visit Marty and Andy once a year, and we'd go around and look at all their properties and properties that they're in escrow. And I always really enjoyed those drives, and kind of hearing how Marty got the property, how he got the property for the right price and what he intended to do, which, only, really the team here, could really see. For me, I had to really envision it and think through. But Marty just had a knack for picking properties, cutting deals. He loved cutting deals. One thing, something I really remember him by is he mentioned one time, if you ever want to get something done, give it to a busy person. And that stuck with me. That was a Martyism, I guess you could say. But it's so true. Another thing that I remember Marty, spending time with Marty, is we'd get in his car and he wouldn't have any head protectors in the seats. And so the seats, you'd get in the car and you'd notice there's a brand new Lincoln Navigator with no headrests. And so I asked him why, and he just didn't like them. And so nobody had any headrests. But there's one other thing that I noticed that was so different. When I got in the car, Marty would never wear a seatbelt. And we didn't have to wear well, everybody else wore seatbelts, but what was interesting is you never would hear the beep. When you get in the car, like it would beep, if you're not wearing a seatbelt, it'd be this annoying beep. Marty's car didn't beep. And so I turned to him and I said, Marty, how is it possible that this brand new Lincoln Navigator doesn't have the seatbelt, it's not beeping? Like, what's going on? He said, I turned it off. I was like, what do you mean you turned it off? Like, how'd you turn it off? Well, basically I guess each car has a code, and he figured out through, I think, Basil, how to turn it off because he never wanted to wear a seatbelt and he got tired of the annoying sound. So he had Basil figure out how to turn it off. And so I have a similar issue. I probably should always wear a seatbelt, but there's times I go quickly to the store and I get tired of hearing the beep. So I reached out to Marty. I was like, Marty, can Basil help me, turn off the beep in my car? And he, sure enough, he sent me the code of, put the seat buckle in twice, pump the brakes twice, turn the wheel, push a button, and next thing you know, the car would make a noise and my seatbelt light wouldn't beep anymore. And so anyways, that was just something crazy that I always going to remember Marty by. I also, every time I came out, it was definitely always around food. So we would have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we'd spend time at Jake's. He loved Jake's, but I think also he didn't like being in the restaurant business. So we would spend time there and give them some business. But anyways, I really enjoyed my dealings with Marty. I really enjoyed the Feinstein family and Andy. And yeah, I'm really glad and thankful that I got to meet him and learn about his story and all the wonderful things he's done in this community, which I learned some more today that I wasn't aware of. And anyways, I felt compelled to come out and be a part of this celebration of life. And I hope Andy, I know Andy and I know Kay, they'll continue to carry on his legacy and to find deals on properties within the Rhino area and other parts of Denver. And anyways, I'm excited to kind of hear where the next story goes with Marty's legacy. So anyways, sorry for the long-winded message, but Marty, we'll see you again at some point. And you've definitely touched my heart as well as you touched a lot of other people. And I'm glad I got to know you for the time I did. Thank you.
My name is Tom Modak. If you can't spell the last name, look at my hat. Anyway, Marty and I have been partners and friends for over 22 years. And whenever you walked into his office, there was my hat right on the very top shelf. Couldn't miss it, Modak. He loved my name, he loved me, I loved him to death. Anyway, you won't see me for a while, buddy, because I'm healthy as ever. But I did get the new Mission Ballroom, 1,600 parking spaces. I got more than they do. That's thanks to you and your friendship. Love you to death. Bye-bye.
I'm Paul Robertson. I met Marty when I bought his Tracks Club in Washington from him and tore it down and built a building for the Naval Sea Command. We became fast friends through that process because it was a 3-year contract to buy the club. And I talked in the video a lot about Marty. I've been in real estate for, over 35 years now, with lots of institutional clients, lots of big banks. Marty's the only guy I would ever do a handshake deal with, and I could trust him to honor it, of everybody I've ever worked with in the country. And really what I wanted to say on this one was, in the original videotaping, I was surprised because they asked me to say goodbye to Marty, and I wasn't expecting that question. And I stumbled over the answer, and what I wanted to say is, Marty, I really can't say goodbye to you. You're with me every day, every week. I miss the calls after every Penn State game, win or lose, when we would, score a field goal on the last 2 seconds, and you would send me a text that said, never in doubt. And so I love you, Marty. I'm going to miss you. I'll see you again someday. Have a beer waiting for me. Bye, Marty.
Hello, I'm Gary Kroner, and I met Marty over 50 years ago in Boulder, Colorado. We both worked at Ball Brothers Research. I started there in October of 1967, and Marty started there about the same time. Our paths crossed within a couple of months of that. That's how I met Marty. Marty was quite the individual and character that we heard about all day today. I met him for the first time for lunch when he took me to Kolachi's in Louisville, Colorado for lunch. I was relatively new at the job. We went out at 11:30 to beat the crowds. I expected to be back at 12:30, 1 hour lunch. We got back between 2:30 and 3. The next week he said, let's go, that chicken cacciatore was just an extremely good special they have. And I said, Marty, I'm a little concerned about the long lunch hour. He said, okay, I understand. So I was expecting to be back at 12:30, 12:45. We got back between 1:30 and 2 instead of 2:30 and 3. So that was typically Marty. We improved on the situation, but it still scared the hell out of me. After that, a story about Marty. We both worked on a project called NRL, Naval Research Labs. We were building cameras to take pictures of the sun. They were going to fly on the Apollo telescope mount. This was about a $15 million project. Marty was the reliability engineer, and I was a parts specialist. Marty got sent to California to investigate a supplier, which was a typical situation when you're doing high reliability engineering. At that time, in the 1960s, the allotment was probably in the range of $20 a day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Marty came back, and a couple days later he said, hey, Kroner, I gotta go in and see the supervisor. They don't like my input for what I spent. Well, as I found out in talking to him later, on one of those $20 for all 3 meals, he had a $35 bottle of wine. Well, supervisor didn't care for that very much, but Marty, knowing what he was doing, said, this is a $15 million project. You expect me to go out and represent this company and lower my standard of living? I have a $35 bottle of wine every night at home in my little apartment. I was amazed. They bought into it. Well, the next thing that happened at Ball Research a couple months later, Marty was trying to do one of his own projects. It was locker baskets. They made out of wire. Well, he was trying to do a proposal to get some financing. He hired 3 of the secretaries that were in our department to type up his proposal. That took all night. The next day, all 3 secretaries called in sick. Upon investigation, they found out they were sick because they didn't have enough sleep. And it came back to Marty. Well, Marty ended up getting fired over this. Well, that was to his benefit because he went on to greater things. It was to my benefit because I got his job, which was a promotion. So thank you, Marty. And thank you, Ball Brothers Research, for getting rid of Marty so he could do the great things he did with his life in Washington, D.C., and Florida, and Denver, and it goes on and on. So anyway, just a story about some of the things that happened in my life with Marty. My first friend since I moved to Colorado, and I'm hoping maybe Marty looked at me the same way as his first friend when he came back to Colorado from California. Love you, Marty. I love your family, and I love what you did for everyone. Thank you.
My name is Howard Farkas. I've been here in Denver for 72 years, following World War II. I've known Marty for probably 50 plus years in various endeavors. Was never in business with him unless you consider poker games business, in which case I doff my hat to one of the best poker players I've ever known. Our paths crossed many times over the years, always pleasantly, and the thing I most admired about Marty wasn't the idiosyncrasies, but rather the fact that he started as an aeronautical engineer and always seemed to find opportunities wherever they may have occurred, in most instances created by Marty. In any event, Marty, it's nice to have known you all of these years. I appreciate all the time we did spend together, and good luck to you wherever you may be.
My name is Brad Feely, and I'd like to go ahead and just personally thank Marty for the opportunity that he's given me, and in the sense that he's actually believed in me, and I find that as a common thread within many stories, and I'd just like to take this one last opportunity to go ahead and thank him. Thank you, Marty.